Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard-to-find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and it is my absolute pleasure to finally bring you the long-awaited series of interviews with the Silver Era bodybuilder and weightlifting legend, Marvin Eder. Marvin Eder is regarded still to this day, pound for pound, the strongest natural bodybuilder and weightlifter that ever lived. He possessed superhuman strength that is still unequaled to this day. In this new series, I will be presenting the many phone interviews that I have had with Mr. Eder, and in the first video, we will look at the origins of Marvin Eder, his genetic background, the motivating forces and idols he had that inspired him to train and begin weightlifting and bodybuilding. Marvin will also detail some of his greatest strength feats in this video, and he also details his life as a plumber. So without further delay, here is my first phone call with Mr. Eder, where we initially make our introductions and then I begin with my questions. Enjoy! Hi, is this Mr. Marvin Eder?
Speaking.
Hi, this is Carlos from Switzerland. I've got many questions. Firstly, I'd like to say, Mr. Eder, it's an absolute honor to speak to you. To many experts, you're regarded as pound for pound the strongest man that has ever walked on this planet. So it's a great honor for me to ask you some questions today and about your story. The first question I actually have is, how old are you now?
Right now, I just passed my 89th birthday.
Wow.
On the 22nd of October.
The 22nd, so happy birthday. Happy.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
And how old are you? 52?
Excuse me?
Are you 52 years old?
I'm turning 42. I'm turning 42.
Oh. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Did you have a nice breakfast?
Excuse me?
Did you have a nice breakfast?
Yeah, I mean, very filling breakfast, thank you. I'll just let you know a little bit about myself before I ask you some more questions. So I've been studying the history of bodybuilding for the last, 10, 20 years now. I've been hunting for you, really, and eventually I found your number. I'm actually a scientist by trade, which is why I really am very thorough with research, and I have a passion for lifting, and I'm really just amazed at your accomplishments, your strength feats, your incredible strength, basically your superhuman strength. And I think this is why I'm very interested in asking you some questions today.
You're going to turn my head. Well, I guess you're born a certain way, and your body begins to produce things you never believed yourself you could do. So that's how life is.
Yep.
That's how life is.
Okay.
So what do you specialize in?
Excuse me?
What do you specialize in?
In science, well, in medical science in particular, I specialize in human disease, and I actually work in a local hospital. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. If you're taking care of them, you're going to make them well.
Thank you. One of my first questions now I have is just about yourself. I'd like to know more about you. A lot of people have told me you're kind of an enigma because you disappeared very young from the Iron Game. But when were you exactly born? What year?
1931.
1931. Wow. October the 22nd, 1931.
That's right.
Wow.
I became 89 years old just a few days ago.
Fantastic. Happy birthday, if I haven't said that. A very happy birthday. A belated happy birthday.
Very kind of you to regard me like that. Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. With your childhood, can you describe your childhood?
things that normally would have killed a lot of people. My mother told me later on, when I was 2 weeks old, I had severe whooping cough.
Oh, wow.
When I was 3 years old, I had infantile paralysis, which they then called polio, became polio.
Right.
Then, when I got a little bit older, I then had, let's see, about 10 years of age, rheumatic fever. Then, I got a little older than that, I had the mumps. I had surgeries. I've been worked on quite a bit. But I survived.
So
I survived.
this is one of the things that I find most amazing about you, that being such a sickly child, at least that's what I've heard as well and read, that you were still able to develop this superhuman strength. Is there anything special you did as a boy, as a child? Did you eat anything special? Was your family well off, or were they poor?
No, we weren't well off at all. We lived in a slum buildings on the Lower East Side in Manhattan, and with a toilet in the hall for 2 families.
Right.
And the houses were filled with millions of bed bugs. And it wasn't an easy life at all. But I didn't notice that too much as a kid. As long as I got out summertime and I was able to play ball, and that's what I enjoyed. I hated school. I just couldn't stand it. When summertime came, I would run out like I was a bull on the run, like they have in Spain.
Right.
That's what my life.
So sorry, go on. Sorry.
I didn't have that much good food either. Mostly, my breakfast used to be cake and coffee. I used to lose a lot of teeth. That way they would rot out. But fortunately, something kept my teeth from rotating wrong, and all the teeth came in straight.
That's great. I would like to also ask you about your parents. Were they strong people, your father and your mother?
Well, my father was a very powerful man. And my mother was a small woman, but she very rarely was ill. That much I can tell you.
Right. Did they work? Sorry, go on.
Well, my father worked in a bagel bakery, delivering bagels. That's what he did.
Right.
And my mother worked all the time. She cooked and took care of the kids. There were 4 of us. I had 2 brothers and a sister.
What nationality were your parents?
Well, we were a Jewish people.
Right.
You're born into something, and that's it. But we didn't practice. There was no practicing of it. Okay. More or less, I would say, reformed people.
Okay. You were mentioning about your father, and you've talked about that in the past. He was very, very strong. I've asked you about your roots, and you said you're Jewish, non-practicing, but nevertheless, that was your background. What about nationality-wise? Were your parents of European origin, or some other? Yeah. Could you elaborate?
They came from Austria.
Austria.
Yes.
These Germanic roots, I mean, those people are very, very strong, I'm not surprised.
Well, I've met someone who was from those parts of the country that weren't that strong. Some more, some weren't.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many famous strongmen from this region. You've got the Saxon brothers, Eugene Sandow.
Yeah.
You've got, obviously, more recently, Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria. You've got many famous strongmen, weightlifters, and bodybuilders from this region. And, of course, now, Marvin Eder.
I developed muscles, but think he was very heavily into steroids.
Yes, he was. That's very true. That's very, very true.
Being exceptionally strong. But he was a nice fella.
Yeah.
He visited me in my home. My wife made dinner, and it was a very pleasant day we had together with a couple of other Muslim men. Very pleasant.
What year was that, would you say? 1960s, 1970s?
Yes, I guess so, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Was Leroy with you then?
Well, Leroy was working out that time in the Eastside Barbell Club.
Oh, okay. What was your motivation then to start training with weights?
I don't know. I think my older brother was a very strong fella, and I seemed to take after him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's able to develop my own strength. See, I was able to do certain lifts that very few people could even match.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I was able to standing press repetitions with 335 pounds.
Wow.
I was able to do bench press on the floor. I like to do that with 641 pounds.
Floor presses.
Yes.
Wow.
Into the arched back.
That is
And then
insane.
I was able to do quarter squats with 1,400 pounds across my shoulders.
That is incredible strength, sir. That is incredible. On that note, did you have an idol back in the day, a strongman as an idol or a bodybuilder as an idol that motivated you, that inspired you to become a weightlifter and bodybuilder?
Well, when I was able to get a magazine, the Strength and Health, I think it was John Grimmick.
Right.
John Grimmick.
Yeah, the original.
Yes, what a physique. And he also was quite a powerful man.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, those days, that nonsense between amateur and professional, and I lost my amateur standing because Bob Hoffman didn't like the fact that I was a Weider man, a Joe Weider man. But I wasn't really. Weider claimed that he taught me everything. He taught me nothing. I developed my own form of training.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually trained from about the age of 14 to 21.
Right.
And I quit, walked away from it all.
Right.
That's it. I walked away from it. And that's how I got into the clubbing line.
Right.
Which wasn't easy to get in New York City. You had to have worked for a licensed plumber for 10 years before you could even take the test, which was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the few men who passed it the first time.
Wow, that's great.
Very difficult. And I built up a very, very nice business. I did work for the President of the United States, the Kennedys.
Wow.
2 floors at 666 UN Plaza. I did their work. I did work for John Lennon, who was killed, murdered. And I had some very nice people that I worked for. So it was interesting. I had at one time 12 men working for me, and it was an interesting life that I led. I did some very dangerous work also on high pressure steam.
Okay.
You make one mistake with that, and it's the end.
Can you imagine?
Yes. High pressure steam would cut right through your body like a bullet.
Yeah, like a laser.
Yes, that's exactly what it was like.
Yeah.
And I I did work on very large pipelines extending the subway stations with pipe that was 36 inches in diameter.
Wow.
And I was able to lift very heavy pieces of pipe. Oddly enough, there was one man who was able to outlift me in something. I don't remember his name. He used to take these heavy containers of gas that you put on your shoulders and you carried. Then when we set bathtubs were, those days, weren't plastic. They were cast iron. I remember carrying them up 5 and 6 flights of steps on my back.
Wow.
And each one of them weighed hundreds of pounds. So I had the strength for it.
Yeah.
And I liked doing that. It felt good.
It was relaxing, was it? That's great. That's fantastic. So as you have heard from the great man, it is interesting to hear about his childhood and from where he came from, and more importantly, what he was able to achieve with such humble beginnings and adversity. He came from a poor Jewish family. His father was a powerfully strong man and had Austrian roots. And anyone that knows a thing or two about the Iron Game history will quickly recognize that it is no surprise that Marvin was able to become so strong. He has those wonderful Austrian roots, and many men from that region of Europe, that is the Germanic region of Europe, became well-known strongmen. So it is no surprise that he was able to develop his superhuman strength as it was in his genetic makeup. What still amazes me is how he, after suffering from many illnesses, was still able in such a short time, within 7 years in fact, break practically every weightlifting record at the time and set lifting records, some of which are still unequaled to this day. It is the opinion of several bodybuilding historians, including myself, that Marvin Eder was able to perform the strength feats that he did because he was the true definition of a genetic freak. He, in this interview, gave us just a sample, just a taste of his superhuman strength. Not even having achieved his full potential, understand that. He was able to floor press 674 pounds, overhead press over 300 pounds for repetitions, mind you, and quarter squat 1,400 pounds. I cannot even fathom. I can't possibly understand how he achieved this strength. I am nothing but a mere mortal human. I mean, these numbers are just out of this world, and I find it a real insult that some people out there are questioning this man's natural stance and calling him out for steroid use. The fact is that no amount of steroid use, none in the world could ever give you the amount of joint strength and power this man possessed. It's that simple. His strength was simply out of this world. We are talking not about a 300 to 400 pound pharmaceutical experiment like nowadays. No. I mean, these guys tear their tendons or ligaments every time they put 2 plates on a barbell. It's just ridiculous. We are talking about a true superhuman who weighed under 200 pounds. The man was an absolute genetic freak, and to you doubters out there, you simply need to learn to accept this fact. It is unfortunate to learn, however, about the Hoffman-Eder War back in the day and how it affected Marvin Eder in that he was never able to truly reach his full potential, and that in other circumstances, he could have continued and set even more records. His potential was that enormous and untapped, if I dare say so myself. Although he left the lifting game way too soon, he was able to still develop a successful plumbing business and do something with his life. So I do hope you have enjoyed this first video on the origins of Marvin Eder, a true Superman of our time. If you have enjoyed the video, please give the video a thumbs up and share and subscribe if you have not done so yet. I will of course continue with this series of video interviews, but understand that the interview audio, as you have heard, needs a little bit of work. So I will try and bring out the next interview soon because the recordings were not so good. It will just take me a bit of time to come out with every video. Now, to support my channel and research, please donate via PayPal or support my museum exhibition campaign as well. Details are given below. Please also support by becoming a patron or visit my website for out-of-print books and courses on old school bodybuilding, and email me if you wish to get in touch. That's it from me. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. To take full advantage of my collaboration with Old School Labs, please visit their website and choose from their marvelous range of supplements using my code Bookworm12. And for an entertaining look at the history of bodybuilding's supplement industry, I would highly recommend watching Subs the Movie, which I have collaborated in, available at Amazon Prime and Vimeo.